Do you ever find that you think, I wish I was funnier, or I wish I had a quicker wit?
No,
you've got quite a quick wit.
Yeah, I often think I wish I was less funny because I'm just surrounded by people just thinking I'm going to make them laugh, and they're often disappointed when they find out that I can't.
Oh, what? So you're kind of living off a reputation of being funny and not actually being funny.
Yeah.
Because you were funny once.
Thanks to your... Yeah, that's right. I told a really good knock-knock joke in primary school. And it's been dogging me ever since. It's the funny boy. Remember him? Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Short Fuse, the Short Fuse podcast. I am Duncan Roberts, and I'm here joined by Oliver O'Donoghue. Do you like being called Oliver?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, not really. I mean, I care about it less than I used to, but
because some people really only like being called by their full name.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
No,
I'm not, But Ollie, please, devoted listeners, when those little bouquets of flowers and muffin baskets that you keep sending with Oliver on them just get rejected at the door, turn them away.
Who is Oliver?
Who?
Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to be back. We are back with lots of new things, I'd say, Ollie. And we're here to talk about those new things. First off, being this podcast is not going to be on a particular subject. We are going to be doing podcasts on different things because we have built some platforms that are very exciting and that give us lots more to talk about when we get together. And we have a very big announcement, don't we, Ollie? I'm going to let you do this bit.
What is the announcement?
The big one. The big one.
Do we now have a website? We now have a website with all sorts of goodies on it.
Yeah.
To start with, all our one of listener, they're constantly pestering us, saying, "Where are your show notes, guys? Any podcast that's worthy of being called a podcast has show notes." Well, we won't do show notes because we do so little research for our podcast. But we do, however, have blogs based on the podcast that give you a little bit more information and explore areas that we couldn't quite get round to, amongst a few other very interesting platforms, as Duncan alluded to. And before he walks through them, because I've had next to no input in this whatsoever, I have no technical ability, and Duncan has loads, and he's built some really cool stuff. I do think we should still stick to the format of Short Fuse and decide whether we're long or short of our own website.
I'm very long on our website. Because it took me ages at the weekends and evenings to build it, and it's still extremely frustrating to do. But B, it looks nice. It's got animations. It's got interesting facts on it and blogs and opinions.
I'm short, however, because I've met the technical team and I just don't think they're up to it.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
The content team, on the other hand.
Anyway, I've
just decided I am.
Yeah, well, content strategy, Ollie.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, you've done the announcement, but you haven't told people how to get to the website, Ollie. I'm having to guide you through it. Thanks, everyone.
Well, they'll find us, won't they? They'll, if you type in enough websites, you'll stumble on our one. It is www, which is short for World Wide Web, shortfuseresearch.com.
You forgot the dot.
What, www.shortfuseresearch.com?
Yeah, it's not www.shortfuseresearch.com, is it?
Look, I think if our listeners,
it's not even www anymore. It's like it's just shortfuseresearch.com.
Imagine if we got. Do you not have to say that these days? You don't have to put Short Fuse Research. Anarchy.
Well, you don't have to put https:// either.
You do if you want to be double safe. If you want to belts and braces, make sure I'm going to the right location. Look, I think I have so much faith in our listeners that even me missing the dot out makes me feel like they were. Imagine the complaint letters we get. But I typed in exactly what Ollie said. And it's just a 404. Like, I'm sick of you guys wasting my time on the podcast and now on my own internet.
All right. Okay. Moving on from the website. So the website has lots of lovely blogs on it, but we've also built something that is going to help us to track technologies and how people feel about them, and also to discover what people are talking about and how they feel about it more generally. So I've been doing a little bit of work in the background in my evenings to build a little platform that's uses AI, uses large language models and embedding models and sentiment analysis models to basically scrape data from various sources. So we've decided on a list of 10 technologies, or actually it's way more than 10 now, isn't it? We've decided on a list of 10 or more technologies that all have kind of sub-themes. So when you talk about AI, that might be your top level technology. At a lower level, it might be terms like machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, generative AI, things like that. And we are going out and using APIs to get information from various sources. One is a source that tracks tone across many, many, many hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of media articles across the web, and analyzes the tone of those articles in relation to those technologies. So that gives us an idea about how the media are talking about that technology. The second is a source for builders, so the people who are actually using that technology to try and build value. And we're tracking the sentiment of those builders towards those particular technologies that we've determined. We'll then plot that on a graph, and we can see over time how that trajectory is moving and how people are feeling about both that technology in the public kind of world, and how the builders, the people who are creating startups based on those technologies or trying to implement it within businesses, feel about it. And that's going to give us some interesting things to talk about. The second aspect of this is less restrictive. It's not going to be us saying these are the technologies that we want to look into. This is literally going out to various sources on the internet, public forums we can get the data from via an API, and looking at the top themes that people are discussing in those forums. And these are forums that are based around the things that we're interested in: emerging technology, technology applications to business, and various other things, so that we can say, well, this is new, this is coming up, lots of people are talking about it, and they're talking about it in a pretty negative way. And over time, we'll be able to say whether that negativity or positivity from sentiment is changing, or whether it's rising or falling, and whether more people are discussing it. And we can track those themes over time. So really, we can start to spot what's interesting, what's new, how people feel about it, and try and do, what's the term? Spot the spark before the explosion, Ollie. Do you like that?
Yeah, it's poetry from your own hand, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's all about fuses and bombs, which I'm not sure is a sustainable metaphor, but we'll go with it for now.
I think that's I take responsibility for that. I think that's my influence, because I've become famous in the various companies I work at for everything being like a war related, like, well, let's make sure we all have our guns pointed in the right direction. That's
also famous for having a very short fuse. Although I think my fuse might actually be shorter than yours.
I think so. Yeah, I think I think when I was younger, I would have given you a run for your money, but these days I'm just so tired.
I'm just very irritable. But yes, so I think it's important to say that as well as getting this information from public sources and using LLMs and embedding models, and I won't go into too much of the technical detail, but if you'd like to know, then please do reach out to us on either our contact form on our new website or email shortfusepod@gmail.com if you'd like to go into a bit more detail about how this technically works without giving too much away. But we're also using our opinions in part of this. So when we do a podcast and we talk about a particular topic, if Ollie is particularly short on something, that will influence the score and the placement on the quadrant to a certain degree. Is that fair to say, Ollie?
Yeah, I think it is. And what I think I'm personally excited about is our ability, based on what you've built, Duncan, to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on out there. But I also think it's fair to say we have been accused by some of our devoted listeners of winging it. In some topics, but by design, right? So that was the whole thing when we first started this podcast up, was that we wouldn't necessarily know a huge amount about the topic, but we'd go off and try and convince each other with our research. This will help us embed even more research into what we're talking about, so even more data, even more stats. So when we do take a position of short or long, it's an intelligent decision. I think we'll probably almost certainly still disagree with each other on a lot of things,
or we just won't even come to that conclusion whatsoever and forget and have to do it afterwards.
Which also happens. I'd say 50% of the podcast, actually, we forget what we're doing halfway through. We're just having a nice chat.
But this will give us a bit more of an impetus to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's safe to say that this doesn't mean that the old format of the podcast is going away. We'll just do various themed podcasts. So at least once a month, we will do a podcast on the trajectories of those technologies and the things that we're finding and the sentiment and volume of discussion about those new and interesting stories. And then we'll also do stuff on, random subjects that we just fancy discussing.
Yeah, very fair. Very fair. We've teased our dear listeners enough with this. Should we talk about some of the hot topics that have emerged? I mean, you have a considerable advantage to me here, Duncan, in so much as you've seen them.
I took you through them for about 3 minutes before this podcast. So
I'm still, in many ways, you represent the new world, and I'm still the old world, where I'm just going to cut a picture and be like, well, I disagree with that fundamentally. I won't explain why.
I think what we'll do is the next episode will take a bit of a deep dive, but what we want to do is give you an idea of the type of things that this system is showing us. So, Ollie, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to talk about this chart here, which I am going to show. And if you want to, you can see on our website, it is the trajectory over the last 3 months chart, and it basically details a bunch of technologies and their trajectories. Now, we are going to add to this. This is a slight work in progress. So next month, i.e. October, you will see a much fuller version of this chart. This has a bunch of placeholder technologies, but we are working on improving that list and refining it. But for now, I think it already tells quite an interesting story. Ollie, do you want to go into it, or do you feel happy to go into it?
Oh well, I'll do my level best. I'll do my level best, because this is something I suspect everyone who's listening to this knows that we're both ex-analysts or current analysts to some degree, which means that we can't help ourselves from plotting data on a quadrant or a grid of some description, which is what we have here. Duncan's already outlined the data sources. We effectively have two pieces, right? Momentum, which is the public perception of a technology. Generative AI, let's say, is a good example of this, where there's a lot of public discussion in the news or in forums about what generative AI can and can't do, whether people like it, whether they don't like it, right? So that's represented as the momentum score. And then you have a conviction score, which is Duncan's word, right? The builders, people who are actually using the technology at the coalface and know what it's capable of doing. Now, on this chart, and will they be able to see this, Duncan? Will this be up on there?
Yeah, we're going to put this up on the website, yeah.
Oh, it's up on the website, but they can't see it in some podcasts.
Oh, yeah. We're supposed to be doing a video podcast at some stage, aren't we? But maybe we'll do that on the list next time.
Yeah, I need to. I want to flatten down my hair.
Yeah.
Well, I'll need to be in a better cardigan. I'll put my second best cardigan on.
I'm going to paint my room, do some decorating before I do that.
So the people have an image of us being these guys.
Yeah.
Well, I hope erudite academic style.
No, so basically you're in a bad cardigan and I'm in a dilapidated office.
It's not a bad cardigan. It's just not my best cardigan. It's a perfectly serviceable cardigan. You can go out in this. I might go out. Anyway, back to the grid.
Yeah. Back to the grid.
Back to the grid. Right. So we have those two forces balancing out. Right now, if you are in the top right hand corner of the grid, there's a degree of consensus. Right. So I'm just going to explain how these standard grids work, which is that effectively the public are very excited about this technology, but so are the people building it, the people actually, getting their hands dirty, which is almost always a good thing. Where there's disconnect, however, that's where the interesting analysis comes in. So, for example, if the momentum score is very high, public are very excited about the technology, it's all over the news, but the builders, the people on the hook to actually make this happen, have a negative perception or a less than positive perception, that significant disconnect spells perhaps a bubble in the technology. I know we're talking a lot about bubbles in AI right now because the people building with this stuff are saying, well, it's not as good as you think it is, but enterprise and public perception is that this stuff is going to change the world around us. That is what this chart will help us spot, and you'll see a lot of that analysis in. So I'm going to take one example. I think quantum computing. Let's go quantum. We talk about AI an awful lot here. Quantum computing is a good example. I think, just so we get a bit of news in here, HSBC recently announced that they think they've cracked quantum computing when it comes to trading. So they think it's going to fundamentally change the way that investment banking works. Right? So it's a very hot topic as of, I think, as recent as a day ago, 2 days ago, this announcement came out. So amongst all of the AI froth, quantum computing is still busily being worked on. Now, what's interesting here is the builders, the conviction score for quantum is very high. In fact, over the last 3 months, it's more or less consistently been the highest in terms of people building it, saying this stuff is good, or we feel positive about it, or there's innovation happening here. Whatever it is, it's very positive sentiment. But the public view of the technology is lukewarm. So it's around zero. So it's neither positive nor negative. People don't know what to make of it effectively, or the negative stories outbalance the positive stories. Something like that is going on there that we could dig into a little bit more at a later date. So that disconnect is suddenly very interesting, because compare that to, I don't want to, I'll pick green tech because it's on there. So sustainability technology that's on there. The conviction score for that is the lowest, and is consistently the lowest. So the people building sustainable technologies are saying, well, actually, there isn't as much juice to squeeze out of the orange here as people think. And again, it sits in a similar public perception point as quantum computing. So people feel neither positive nor negative about it. They're lukewarm there. By comparing those two, you can see two very profoundly interesting disconnects. So quantum is not getting the buzz it deserves, is effectively the takeaway I would have from that right at the top glance. So tech people think it's great. The public don't care. They're apathetic, effectively. That impacts things like investment, the availability of capital, all sorts of other things. Green tech, however, is the inverse of that. So, the inverse of that for the builders, in so much as they have a generally lukewarm or negative view of it, whereas, again, the public just don't care. They're not interested. It doesn't, and obviously sustainability is going through a bit of a moment at the moment. It had like a summer of investment 2-3 years ago, and now I would argue for largely political reasons is fallen massively out of vogue in the public mind, but also in the investor's mind. So that is the type of information you'll be able to see on the grid. We're tracking it over 3 months as well. So what you have these constellation charts almost that show you how sentiment is changing.
Supposed to be like
both of those
comets.
camps.
They're supposed to be like comets shooting from
zipping around
unapologetically
across the sky.
Yes.
What that shows, I find this fascinating, is because what you can see is whether or not something is approaching consensus or is approaching a bubble, where there's a disconnect. And I think the most dangerous one is probably the bottom left-hand corner, where the public perception is very, very high, but the builders are saying, no, this isn't what you think it is. Right now, nothing is in that bottom right-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner, sorry. Bottom right-hand corner.
You mean bottom right-hand corner, yeah.
I do mean bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, it's where the public perception is really high, but the builders just don't see anything in it.
Yeah, and bottom left-hand corner would be, no one likes this.
Yeah, everybody hates it.
We universally despise this technology, which is relatively empty. There's a lot of consensus in the middle, and this is interesting, around generative AI and blockchain. So there's kind of a happy middle at the moment where, and actually the movement between perception isn't that significant. Space technology, on the other hand, has bounced around quite significantly over the last 2 to 3 months, and you can probably imagine why that is. A rocket launch that's successful would suddenly, you'd see a big swing in perception in both camps, whereas a rocket that blows up on the launch pad or doesn't land back correctly would suddenly see a swing back in the other direction. So you can start plotting some of those movements linked to very big stories attached to some of these technologies.
I think there's also like one of my kind of pet passions is VR and AR, and we've got a plot on there for extended reality XR or whatever you want to call it, because it gets called so many different things. And that is in a strange place. Like the conviction from the builders is quite lukewarm, sits in the middle. It's not really positive or negative, but the stories are quite positive from the media perception of it. And what that tells me is that there's a market there. It's just not being accessed enough. Or they're trying to figure out how to access that market in the right way. And that really sums up where we are with VR and AR at the moment, is that there's a bunch of people out there who are quite excited about it. And when something new gets released, they're like, wow, this is cool. But then when stuff is built, they just don't really know what to do with it. So this grid is really going to tell us some interesting things, either confirm or disavow us of our opinions that we hold ourselves, or point out some stuff that we hadn't even noticed at all.
Yeah, and I think again, this is where the short and long part and our disagreements will probably get perhaps even spicier as a result of this. Because I look at that, I mean, I think your analysis is correct. I would read this in a slightly different way, which is where, hey, well, this just become a consumer market now. And the enterprise market perhaps isn't as exciting. So when you think about applying extended reality to the workplace, there's less buzz about it now than some of the really cool games you can now get, or some of the really cool capabilities. I mean, you wrote a piece on our website about being able to lure people into a virtual living room, I think.
Holy cow, I tried it, right? I scanned, it's called Hyperscape. I scanned my office that I sit in, and I got the scan back, and I was wearing VR, and I was in my office, also in my office in VR, but in my office in reality as well. And it was so disorientating. Is that word? Disorientating?
Yeah.
That I felt like I was in the same room, but everything was in a slightly different place. It was wild. It is a wildly insane piece of technology. I would encourage you, if you have a Quest 3 or 3S, to give Hyperscape a go and scan some spaces, because it is nuts how realistic it is, and it can be quite unnerving but quite exciting at the same time. So I think that kind of stuff, alongside the announcement of the Meta AR, that it's not even AR, it's just a screen in some glasses, it's Google Glass for the 2025. But some new announcements have pushed XR quite far up on the momentum scale, and people are quite excited about it. But still, that builder, the people who are building the apps for it, fairly lukewarm. So what we really need to see for something to take off is for it to be in that top right section, where there's huge amounts of momentum for this technology in terms of the media and the public buzz about it, and also the builders are going wild. And quite noticeably, there really isn't anything in that top right section at the moment.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not, because there's more to be added to this, including, for people who, I mean, you should definitely go to our website and look at it, first of all. So don't even think about not doing that. But for those of you who can't do it immediately because you're on the train or, at a wedding or something, and it'd be considered inappropriate. Right now, we have space technology, green tech, blockchain, generative AI, quantum computing, and extended reality up on the chart. And they're all based on podcasts that we've done, right? So again, we're kind of digging a little bit deeper. But we're going to have some what I would consider more pragmatic technologies. So if you like next generation infrastructure, which would include things like cloud and edge computing, where do you know what? Now that I think about it, the public probably aren't nearly as interested as I am in those things.
We'll soon find out, eh?
But I hope the conviction's high, because they're tried and tested technologies that are pretty important. And what I would expect to see, particularly in things like cloud, is incremental innovation that builders think, oh, that's really interesting. But perhaps for the momentum score, people just don't think negatively of.
Yeah, they don't. There's no strong feelings either way.
Yeah, so kind of that buzz-free middle ground in the momentum score, but the highly pragmatic conviction score that means, well, we're building this all the time and it's very effective. I mean, I'm really excited once we populate it, and then we'll, our regular podcast where we dig into it and see what's going on and find the stories that matter will be worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to do that once a month. We're going to go through this chart. But the other thing to mention is just some stories that are coming out, and this Discover part of the platform I've built is really looking at what's new, what's emerging, what's interesting, and it's less about technology specifically, it's more about themes. And I'm just going to you can pick anyone you want to on here, Ollie, if you want to at all, but I'm just going to pick out the top one, which is the most discussed story from our sources at the moment, and it's actually got the lowest sentiment, so people are cross about it, people are really angry about it. And this story that was posted is around a company, Slack, raising charges for a non-profit organization by $195,000 a year. That's recently been sorted out, to Slack's credit, to say they saw this story. It garnered a lot of discussion, as we've seen. It's the top of our list. And that essentially made Slack realize that maybe something was wrong here, and they've since sorted it out. But there's a deeper story here about data ownership or on SaaS platforms. Basically, if you are using a SaaS platform and then suddenly something happens to raise those charges, suddenly if you don't own your data, that data's gone. So there's an interesting story and discussion there about how businesses own their data and who's in control of it. So that's the kind of stuff that we're going to get out of this part of the system. Ollie, is there anything that kind of piques your interest there?
Well, I mean, I won't go into too much detail because it's early days, isn't it? It's very controversial. But I think the next one on the list, which is I think also the second most negative by sentiment, is immigration policy reform, which this week has become quite a significant talking topic. What I find interesting there is there's a divergence from a lot of different regional governments. Some, I would imagine, would contribute to a positive interpretation of this score, where, for example, I think I'm fairly certain the UK has announced that they're going to change visas. So if you are an expert in your field, it's much easier to get into the UK. And obviously other governments have clamped down on expert visas, the US being the classic one that's discussed at the moment, but there are a few others across the globe. The interesting part here is that it is net negative. So even with some very positive news in some cases, the big elephant in the room change that happened over the weekend is the one dragging that score down. And it's a rising discussion trend, so people are talking more and more about it. I imagine in some of the forums that your data comes from, there are people that will be directly affected by this. It's going to be something that significantly impacts their life. And the sentiment trend is falling, and it's already got a low base. So this is getting kind of more and more negative. Now, we don't tend to get involved in. We talk about technologies and a few things. I mean, we've talked about crime and a few other things that I guess are political hot potatoes. We don't tend to get into these too much, but I do wonder whether, as we use this tool, you can start seeing the fortunes of a region change as a result of some of the decisions it makes. And by that, I mean, the trajectory here is already a low base negative and is falling and falling and falling. Those perceptions matter. We don't tend to talk about things like Brexit on this podcast, Duncan. But again, if we had this at the time and were plotting how tech talent and builders were approaching the UK market as a result, I think we would have had some interesting insights that we could share. But we weren't around then. We didn't do this back then.
No, but things will happen. I mean, we definitely live in interesting times. So I'm sure there will be lots to be discussed about on this particular chart. Just to say, it also gives us some interesting things to talk about and more fun things. I think it's gone now since I ran the update, but one of the top discussions and most positive sentiments was around kitchen appliances, ultrasonic kitchen appliances. I've not got an ultrasonic kitchen knife, but now I want to try one. So, it's impacting my personal life as well.
Right. So, sorry, follow-up questions. What are we talking about a knife that doesn't really exist, but cuts the food with
No, I think it
rays,
just.
or...
I mean, I need to actually, do like click on the link.
We're up to our old tricks again.
But I think it's a knife that emits some sort of ultrasonic waves to make it cut better.
I'm gonna right.
You get some that vibrate. They vibrate.
To what purpose?
To make it cut easier, so you can carve your chicken in cleaner lines.
It's more aesthetically pleasing cut. So here we go. So this is from. I'm not going to name the brand because I've done no research on them, but they claim to be the first ultrasonic kitchen knife. Slicing has never been easier, introducing a revolutionary kitchen knife with the latest technology embedded in the body of a classic knife, a knife with unique ultrasonic technology. It doesn't really explain why. So here are the benefits. Slicing effortlessly, to your point, Duncan.
There you go.
Preserving vitamins. I don't really understand how that.
Right.
Minimal loss of liquids. Easily slices even harder foods.
There you go.
That's useful. I remember those. Do you remember those? Like, a knife that could cut through anything, and there'd be like infomercials about it. It'd be like cutting through steel and stuff. It could barely cut through a carrot. Duncan, you're on it. Cutting without deformation.
Oh, there you go.
So it's
clean
an
slicing.
aesthetic cut. Better cutting fragile and crumbly foods.
So your cake will no longer
vibrations.
Squish.
Yeah, it won't squish cakes. It won't. Yeah. If you've got a digestive that you need to split with someone, you're forced. There's only one left, and you don't want to break it into 5 ungodly pieces.
If it can do a chocolate hobnob, I'm in.
Well, I think
I'm sharing that.
The good news is, Duncan, that if you were to share a chocolate hobnob, you wouldn't have to worry about cleaning the knife because it says, thanks to vibrations, food does not stick to the blade.
Oh, no. I mean, there's a couple of contestable claims here, one about vitamins and one about cleaning. The rest I'm all in on.
Well, it does. I mean, Jesus, you could. There are clubs that promise less than this. 45,000 beats per second. 70 watts of power and 12-volt battery. You'd be mad not to have one.
Do you know what though? Like, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed in my office with all the things that I have to charge. So if I have to charge my kitchen knife, I'm getting a bit tired of that, like having to charge everything.
I can't think, and I'm sorry to all of the chefs out there who are definitely listening to this, I can't think of a single reason why I would need an ultrasonic knife.
Well, just wait until you
They're really easy to cut.
Yeah, I was going to say next time you carve a chicken, you'll think about that, but you don't eat meat.
No, so. I don't eat.
You don't eat. You don't eat.
I don't need to nourish myself, Duncan. I have no need for knives or calories.
But look, I just moving away from the knives a minute. That was interesting. It's now fallen off because it's not that. It's not actually that interesting. But
just ridiculous. Yeah.
But just to show how much this is kind of builder based. This is around the people who are actually developing the technology. The theme with the top sentiment for this month is Linux desktop environments. So we know that we're dealing with the nerds here, the good people who are building this stuff.
Of course they're happy about it. Like, look how happy. Like, if you go to a website and you see this chart, you'll see what we mean. It's basically negative about everything, marginally okay about some things, and then just Linux desktop environments over my dead body when anyone says anything negative about that. Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we wrap it up here, but and we'll be a lot more focused next time because we won't be explaining what this platform does. But if you want to have a look at these charts that we've been discussing now, you can go to our website and have a look at them. They will be being updated. They're just placeholders at the moment. And you can read our blogs there. But this will give us something interesting to speak about at least once a month alongside our other more rambly, much more rambly, because this was quite rambly, podcasts that we do.
You should also absolutely sign up to our newsletter.
Yeah,
you'll
you'll be informed of the blogs. It's nothing. It's not separate. It's just you'll be triggered to read the blogs rather than go to our website once and then leave it and never come back.
Yeah, and also, Duncan, it's important to remember that we're giving this to our listeners for free, which means that they can save up their pennies and buy a supersonic knife bundle for $499.
$499 for this ultrasonic. Supersonic or ultrasonic?
Well, a sleek wall-mounted charging tile you can get for $150, and you can currently be bundled with a knife for $400. You could just buy the tile for no reason
Why would
whatsoever.
you buy the tile? Surely you buy the knife and have the tile bundled with it rather than buy the tile. Yeah.
No, tile first. They're reverse Apple, aren't they? So Apple's like, well, you bought the laptop. I assume you want to charge it, so that's going to be separate.
Whereas this is
one,
like
you
buy the charger. I just want a charger.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually have a
$499.
USB-C light in my office now. It's attached to the wall, but I can detach it from the wall, and I have to charge my wall light because I couldn't be bothered to do any wiring.
Oh, but I'm thinking of doing that up my stairs because I can't be bothered to have wires run through.
Really,
they can go for a couple of weeks, can't they?
Yeah, like it's. Oh, I've got to get it off the wall. For our listeners, you can't see, but there it is. Look.
That's exactly that. Send me a link to that. Send our listeners a link to that. That you too can have a tasteful USB.
It's really nice.
Light
Look,
in your house.
you just tap it there and it comes on.
Yeah, I think it's really rather fetching.
It is rather fetching. It looks nice in my office. I might get another
and yet
one.
The nerds aren't talking about this at all.
I know, it doesn't appear in our analysis. Goodness me. It's almost like we're out of touch.
Yeah. Bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre.
No. Well, I think that what we're doing is we're trying to give us something to explore on this podcast, which is really spotting the signs, spotting those bubbles, spotting those explosions before they happen. And I think this is going to give us a bit of an advantage in what we can talk about or ramble about. This has been quite a long one, hasn't it?
Well, podcast 36 whole minutes of free. I think we should charge. I think if you can charge $199 for a charging pad, then at least 50 pence.
So is
you're
the
like
tile
a busker in the street?
Is the tile the same colour tile as the tiles you've already got in your kitchen, or can you customise it?
I've closed down the webpage. I've done enough advertising for whatever mad.
I'm going to have to do some work on this. But yes, okay, right. So please go to our website, have a look, enjoy reading some blogs, having a look at these charts, listening to them, coming up with your own views, emailing us about them, leaving comments, and just generally having fun. This is a nice hobby for us to do, so enjoy it. And we will be back with maybe a deeper dive into these themes in a little while. Is that it? We done?
Yeah. www.shortfuseresearch.com.
That was nice. It's like a perfume advert.
It's like JHL. You can find out more about Duncan and Ollie and their charts at https://www.shortfuseresearch.com/blogs.
No. The blogs are on the homepage. Don't get me started.
The blogs
on this.
are on the homepage.
Yeah.
Once again, our poor listeners will be diligently typing this in and be like, "Oh, he's done it again."
I know.
I know. Pages down.
It upsets me because I've been trying to figure out the architecture for this website, and you'll see when you go to it, it's not great. But it will get better.
Oh, it'd be way worse if I did it. I'd my own website for, I think, probably a month. And I just kept changing the WordPress themes. I didn't spend any time actually adding anything to the website. It's like a child. It's like, oh, there's a space-themed one. I'll be space-themed today. Oh,
like changing your
Samurai
ringtone.
Period Japan. Perfect. I'll have that this day.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you are looking forward to listening to some more stuff where we discuss what comes out of this platform and other things that just are interesting. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon. Say bye.
Cheerio.
Oh,
I just did.
He's done it again.
Just did.
Yeah. Bye then. Bye now.
Don't anticipate me.